Well, they reset the continuity in the comic book, so I suppose this was inevitable. Justice League War. As an animation junkie, I love DC animated movies. They're not all perfect, but they're all worth seeing, and I probably will do individual reviews on all of them if I can find the time to get around to it. But let's start with the one that they used to reset and bring things pretty much in line with the New 52 that launched over at DC. Now this, in turn, is intended to be the start of a new continuing continuity, which we haven't really had since the end of the Justice League TV show. Pretty much everything that's come out as an individual movie, even though Bruce Timm has been involved in a number of them, is not part of that previous continuity, nor has it been a consistent part of a new continuity. They've all been individual films with some basic consistencies in the characters, but they're not maintaining the same voice cast all the time, and they're not maintaining a continuity. So this is supposed to be the start of a new solid continuity where we keep the same actors and the same characterization, and we get to see them across multiple things. Which, on premise, has me really excited, because I dig that kind of continuity. And it was one of the things I really loved about the Batman animated series and the Justice League and Batman Beyond, and I loved how tightly it all tied together. So I'm excited about that notion. That said, this being the start of it, it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some things that work, there's some things that don't, and that's not completely atypical. Not all these movies are brilliant, but the things that don't work, I really don't like the fact that they're probably going to be recurring problems now in this newly established DCAU. But why don't we start with what does work? The action. And this is definitely an action movie, no question about that. It's all really well done, really well handled, really well paced, and it's rather impressive that the action doesn't get boring, considering that most of the time, the various characters are fighting completely identical parademons. That should have gotten really old and really boring. It doesn't. It stays fun. And some of the voices are really good too. Seriously, I could listen to Batman and Green Lantern bicker at each other for 2 hours, and I would be very happy. Shazam turned out to be a surprise highlight for me, really dug him. And most of the other characters are serviceable, but there's really two major issues that I've got with this thing. And they happen to be linked to specific characters. The first is Darkseid. Darkseid is the big baddie, and there's always been two aspects to Darkseid that make him an interesting villain. One, he is insanely powerful. He can obliterate almost anybody, and this does portray that very well. The second, though, is he's got a really good intellect. He can jump in there and take you apart with his Omega Beam. He would prefer not to. He's Machiavellian by nature. He likes to sit back and pull the strings. That is completely lost in all of this. He just happens to be the boss fight at the end of them fighting all these identical parademons. And he's given so little personality that honestly they could have swapped him out for any number of equally powered bad guys. He could have been Doomsday. He could have been Solomon Grundy. It wouldn't have made much of a difference. All they needed was a really big, strong guy who could take a beating for the last chunk of the action, and they happened to pick Darkseid, which I think is a real waste of the character. That one, more of an issue with this specific film. My other issue, though, is one that I'm really afraid is going to reverberate across this rebooted continuity, and that is Wonder Woman. Now, I have not been keeping up particularly close with the comic books anymore. Like I said, I know they rebooted with the New 52 and all that, so I know what's going on, but I'm not actually reading the comics. I don't have the time, and I don't have a local comic book store. So it's quite possible that Wonder Woman, as presented in this film, is an accurate representation of how she exists in the New 52, and if that's the case, well, then I suppose I should be just as pissed at DC the comic books as I should be with the makers of this movie, because she is horrible. You need to understand, I love Wonder Woman, and part of the reason why this stings so much is she's been done really well in animation up to this point, whether it was in the Justice League TV show or the solo Wonder Woman movie, which was really excellent, and she just has this sort of strength, this stoicism, but they were always able to give her layers and make her human, and now she's a friggin' punchline. They overplay this fish out of water thing for these really stale, obvious, not funny jokes. And this over-earnest line reading from the actress playing her just makes it worse. And then they have to cheapen her further by giving her an immediate and obvious attraction to Superman, which just, in my mind, undercuts the character completely. One of the best things that the Justice League TV show did was to not do the obvious pairing of Wonder Woman and Superman. Actually, she never clearly got romantically paired off at all. They implied something was going on with Batman, but they didn't even show that because she is not defined by her romantic interests or entanglements. She never has been. So in her first appearance in this new continuity, to show her kind of going, ooh, to Superman, you have missed the point. So, like I said, really mixed bag. The art style's cool, the action's top notch, although they've got that same sort of thing that the Man of Steel live action movie had, which is a complete disregard for civilian collateral damage. I mean, it's one thing to destroy villains in a fight, but the fact that none of these heroes are going, ooh, should we check to see if there were people in that building? Or nobody says we gotta get this fight away from a populated area and they just destroy everything? Yeah. So again, it's not bad, but the problems I have with it are kind of amplified by the fact that this is kickstarting a new continuity, and I just worry that these problems either won't be fixed or I'm just going to be stuck with them forever. But I'll have to wait and see, because I'm definitely going to come back for more. I have loved these films and I'm going to stick with them. There have been some rough patches before, Superman Unbound, but they've come back strong since then, so I will be back and hopefully things will pick up a bit. Do you follow the DC animated movies? What's your favorite one of the ones that have been released so far? There are a lot of good ones out there. I think I gotta go with Wonder Woman. That's largely out of a love of the character though. There are some other really excellent ones out there. Return of the Joker is a second for me, which I know might be a cheat because that's part of the old continuity, whatever. It's awesome. Anyway, what's your favorite? Drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. As for me, I'll be back as soon as I get my next fix.